A license plate reader picked up Abby's car driving through a Fort Worth intersection on the night of October 26th. Seconds later, it picked up the truck of the man that Abby was concerned was stalking her and was definitely harassing her. And 17 minutes later, she was dead. Hey guys, if you are new here, welcome. On this channel we talk about things related to domestic violence, primarily intimate partner homicide. If you are not new here, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. This week we're going to talk about Abby Saldana. She was murdered in Houston, Texas on October 26th. This situation is a little bit different. Like I said, we talk about intimate partner homicide, and I believe that this is an intimate partner homicide, even though it may not be what you would typically think of as intimate partner homicide. We talked about this a little bit with Janae Garnier. Women need to understand that when they allow a man to get close to them and build a connection with them, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But for certain men, that puts you at risk. And it can be really difficult to identify those men ahead of time. Women often will create some kind of a connection, whether it's the connection that they're intending on or not, and not realize that they did it with somebody that is dangerous until it's too late. So like I said, the Janae Garnier case was labeled as like a stalker who came in and murdered. There's definitely differing opinions on that, so I presented an option, a possibility of how that went down based on what was being reported at the time. For Abby, she also had a stalker. She also was operating in a high-risk industry. There are certain things that you can do that's going to put you at a higher risk for things like murder and rape and things that are dangerous than somebody else. A soccer mom who goes to church, homeschools her kids, mostly stays at home, is going to be at a different risk level than an exotic dancer is. Does that mean that she can't be murdered? Absolutely not. And murdered by her intimate partner, 100%. It's totally possible. But it's more common, higher risk for somebody who's in the exotic dancing industry, which Abigail was, or somebody who has an OnlyFans page like Janae did, different things that increase your risk level. For example, I am aware that doing this channel and doing videos like this, I'm putting myself at a higher risk than somebody who's not. It's entirely possible for some crazy person to get on here, see my stuff, decide to fixate, and especially with the content topic, I could die. I'm more at risk than somebody that's watching this, and I'm aware of that because I know that there are things that I can do, choices that I can make that are going to put me at higher risk. I can walk around at night by myself. That's going to put me at higher risk of being harmed than if I don't. So in the other video, I had a couple of people who commented about how I was making her seem like an angel. That's not the goal. I want to be real with you. If I'm not real with you, it's not helpful to you. So that's not the goal. Was she making choices that I may or may not agree with? Yeah, but that's irrelevant to this. The fact of the matter is, she was murdered. The fact of the matter is, there was an intimate connection with her murderer that in this case, and reportedly in the last case, ended up in stalking. This one, I don't think that there's anybody that's really arguing that. It's pretty obvious that there was stalking here. But there were decisions that were made that didn't help. Did that make her in any way responsible for her murder or deserving of being murdered? Absolutely not. A crime is still a crime regardless of whether it is a prostitute or it is a soccer mom or anything in between. It's still a crime, and it is still choices made by the person committing the crime. They are the ones responsible. 100%. No victim blaming whatsoever there. But there are things that we can do, choices that we can make or not make, people we can be around or not be around, places that we can go or not go that are going to increase our safety or decrease our safety. And to not acknowledge that is foolish and is not being real. You know, like the walking at night thing by myself. It would be stupid of me to say that that is not putting myself in more danger. When women walk or run with headphones in both ears, that puts them at higher danger because they can't hear what's situationally going on around them. That makes them effectively deaf, vulnerable, easy prey for a predator. Does that make them deserving of having something happen to them? Absolutely not. But it does put them at a higher risk than somebody who is watching and listening and aware. On October 26th, around 8:40 p.m., a witness called 911 when they saw a car kind of careen off of the road into a grassy area off the freeway. The caller then approached the vehicle and discovered what looked like bullet holes into the passenger side of it, and a woman was unresponsive in the driver's seat. Abby was pronounced dead at the scene from gunshot wounds to the right arm and the back, and police were able to identify her because she had her passport in the car with her. Detectives later discovered 3 bullet casings and glass at an intersection that they believe she was actually shot at, and then she continued to drive until she died and went off the road. Now, Abby is originally from Wichita Falls, Texas. She moved to Dallas 2 years ago with her 5-year-old son. As a single mom, she reportedly had several jobs, including one styling eyebrows, which she took pictures of and put on Instagram, and another working at a bar. Like I said, Abby was an exotic dancer. It was interesting to me that where the car went off the road and ended up, you could actually see her place of work from there, which helped police to be able to get more information in the story very quickly compared to what it could have been. She had stuff that suggested she was an exotic dancer in her car. That place happened to be in view, so they went in and talked to them, found the manager. The manager confirmed that she did work there, but she didn't work there that day. Then the manager explained to the police that she had had a customer who had been scaring her because he had been harassing her and he had been stalking her, according to her. And the manager showed the police an Instagram video where she found a tracking device in her car.
But this was literally on my car like this. This is why you have to be careful. I don't really know what to do moving forward with this, but this definitely looks like a tracker to me. This is so crazy, you guys. So crazy. Like, who would do this? I'm encouraging everybody that's watching this video to go and check. Make sure nothing's on their car.
What part of the video I have gotten to see, she doesn't say that it was him, so I'm not sure where the connection of the two of those came, but multiple media outlets are reporting that she said that it was from him, that she knew it or believed that it was from him. She found this tracking device on her car like 2 weeks before she was murdered, and if I understand it right, it sounds like the police found another one when they took her car in after she was murdered. I might be misunderstanding that. We're going to talk about one particular device that is extremely common right now for stalking later on in this video. So the police are informed that he's been stalking her, he's been harassing her. She was definitely scared of this client. At this point, the manager only has the guy's name or what he's known by. He's known there as Stan. He's known as being a military veteran, and for some reason the manager has this guy's phone number. So they're able to investigate a little bit more. They have her Instagram handle. They end up getting his Instagram handle. That Instagram is linked to the same phone number, and the address is registered to Stanley Frank something, Szeliga. I know I've heard it, but I'm totally going to destroy it. So he was a 54-year-old software engineer from Irving, Texas. She was 22. When there's a significant age difference and the aggressor is older, it doesn't tend to turn out well, I'm noticing, for the younger person. So there's another thing to keep in mind. I'm not saying that if you date somebody that's significantly older than you, they're going to kill you. I have known some couples who that has worked out okay for, but I definitely used to go for guys that there was a pretty decent age difference for, and that puts the power dynamic very uneven, and none of those were good things, but that's all part of the trauma thing. Just be aware, that's a red flag for intimate partner homicide. That is not something that I've read somewhere as a red flag. That's just something that I have seen doing these videos more often than not. That's a bad sign, so tuck that away. This guy Stan had posted on Instagram, one of them saying that he had paid Abby hundreds of dollars, and he's alleging that he'd paid her for prostitution. He was telling her that he was going to report her for prostitution, so he was trying to blackmail her. And whether or not she was actually prostituting is neither here nor there. Was he giving her money? It definitely looks like he was giving her money in large sums, but for what? I don't know. Regardless, even if she was prostituting, again, not an okay excuse to kill her. In this case, using traffic cams and license plate readers, law enforcement was able to determine that he was following her vehicle within seconds, 17 minutes before she ended up dying, which puts him, you know, very likely to be involved in this murder. Also, they were able to find that he had driven really close to her residence at least 5 times in the last 12 or 13 days. And for law enforcement, that indicated a pattern of stalking. One of those days in particular was October 13th. October 14th is when she posted the video after finding the tracking device. So he was there the day before, and that is significant. I wondered at first why Abby wouldn't have reported the tracker to the police, but in one of the articles that I found, her mom said that she had first told her mom about it and her mom had encouraged her to go to the police, so she did. And then later law enforcement confirmed that that report is being considered in this investigation of homicide.
Police confirm it's part of the murder investigation.
There is a tracker on this vehicle that we have identified. Now, we don't know how long that tracker's been on. And again, that's something that, again, our detectives are looking into.
Which is great, but it would have been really nice if there would have been more involved before she was murdered. Law enforcement still has a long way to go. The legal system really entirely has a long way to go as far as stalking goes. And they need to get their crap together because it's going to get worse. Technology is fantastic for a lot of different things, but it is terrible for domestic violence and stalking. And the better the technology gets, the more you're gonna see stalking in particular. Whether it's stalking of a domestic partner, stalking of a love interest, stalking of an ex's love interest, whatever. It's already a whole lot more common than people realize, and our legal system needs to catch up or more people are gonna die, because stalking is a huge prelude to murder in intimate partner homicide cases. Huge. Like 70-80% of the time the victims have been stalked. Not always, like I said, is it as obvious as it is in this case, which is part of why I wanted to highlight her case, because it happens a lot more than people realize. Stalking is something that I've been told you have to build your own stalking case. They're not going to build it for you. There has to be a period of time, a decent period of time where you can show stalking behavior. You have to have recorded it yourself. You build your own case and then you take it in and you say, here, deal with this. Now try this. Stalking is hard because in a lot of cases, a lot of the time, the things that they're doing, at least initially, aren't illegal in and of themselves. But the accumulation of everything becomes stalking, and that is illegal. In this case, putting a tracker on somebody's car or anything else without their knowledge, that is illegal. I don't understand why they didn't try to find the person responsible for that at that point, because that is very clear stalking and an invasion of one's rights. Is supposed to be punishable by law. There is a screenshot of text exchange or messaging exchange between the two of them. It definitely shows that she had allowed him to become closer than just a dancing client at a club. And that's where like my initial warning was, be very careful of who you allow close in the first place. Now, whether she was doing it for money or other things is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. The point is who you allow close, who you allow to feel like there's connections. One of my viewers asked earlier this week for me to look into another case where this woman was murdered by somebody that she had only been with for a couple of months, like 2 or 3 months tops. And I responded to her that I hadn't had a chance to look at their particular case yet, but like Gavin DeBecker in his book, The Gift of Fear, he talks about how some predators, all it takes is like a smile at them or a common everyday interaction, and they're twisted in the head enough, that is considered a connection with them. What normal, logical, rational people would just consider is an everyday kind of thing, and it's not a big thing. For them, it's a connection. And by the time you realize there's something off about this person and you try to put distance there, they now believe that you connected with them, and then you are pushing them away, and so you are toying with their emotions, and that can make them angry to the point where they can get violent. Because in your mind, you're like, oh, this person is not a normal person. I'm gonna distance myself. But in their mind, you are toying with them, and therefore you're asking to be a victim. And those people do not walk around with that belief system tattooed to their foreheads. They don't walk around with a sign so that you know, I am a messed up individual. The only way to really and truly try to help protect from people like that is to guard who you make connections with. In this case, she allowed him closer. She was calling him baby in this message exchange. Now, whether she was doing that to string him along because he was paying her or not, for him, that felt like more. There was more there. There was some kind of an intimate connection there. And that was all that it took for him to believe that he had the right to her life. So be careful with who you connect with intentionally. You don't have control over who decides that you connected with them that you didn't. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about an experience I had when I was 17 where the maintenance guy showed up in our apartment when they shouldn't have, and then later left earrings on my bed. Is it possible that I made a connection with him at some point that I don't even remember? I smiled a certain way or said hi in passing or something, and that for him was a connection to go further with it? It's entirely possible. You don't have control over that. I'm not saying be a jerk to everybody that you ever come across so that you don't make any kind of a connection. But what you have control over, be careful with. Be careful who you allow an intimate connection with, whether it's on your end or their end. Like, sometimes it's not on your end, it's only on their end, but you know it's on their end. Be careful with that. Stan, law enforcement contacted him. He agreed to meet with investigators to do an interview, and then 15 minutes before he reportedly called and said there was a death in the family. Most of them said that he said he wasn't going to be able to make it because of the death in the family. One reported that he said that he would still come even though there was a death in the family, but he didn't show up. So investigators got an arrest warrant. SWAT ended up carrying it out at 11:30 at night or something like that night. He refused to leave his home when they were trying to execute this warrant. They ended up like cornering him on the balcony of his house, and he had self-inflicted wounds and apparently some kind of a cut on his neck, which he ended up needing medical treatment for. You can see it in the picture. It looks like he scratched himself a bunch. I don't have any idea what that was about, but I'm kind of curious, and it doesn't say anywhere if the neck wound was him attempting suicide. It doesn't say. I don't know. He was arrested on October 28th after being released from the hospital and was being held on a $250,000 bond. At this point, I believe that law enforcement isn't looking at anybody else in this murder. Her mom said that Abby knew that she was being followed. You know, again, it was established, and that is good. If you believe that you are being stalked, tell people. If you're in a domestic violence situation, tell people. Unfortunately, it's not always going to get you the help that you need in time, but it definitely is helpful for building a case, and we need to work and progress towards it's helpful in getting you the help that you need at the time also. But Abby had made it very clear that she was scared to her manager, I believe to coworkers, to her family, and probably to her friends, and potentially even on social media, that she believed she was being followed, she believed she was being stalked, she was definitely being harassed, and she was scared. That was established. That means that trying this guy is going to be so much easier because she didn't suffer alone. She didn't try to hide it and deal with it all herself. So her mom said that she knew she was being followed, and she believes that thanks to Abby's smarts and bravery, they were able to arrest a suspect so quickly. She said thanks to Abby taking pictures of the license plate when she figured out that she was being followed, and we got on and I pulled the license plate, pulled the name, pulled everything that I needed to, her mother said. So they had done their own due diligence, their own investigating when she believed that she was being followed, which is, I wish it wasn't necessary. I wish that you didn't have to build your own stalking case, but law enforcement has told me, at least when I was dealing with it, that I had to, that everybody has to, at least where I live. Maybe there are other places where they do that well, but expect that.
He's gonna have to answer to me why he took my daughter, and I'm not gonna stop. I will fight, and I will fight, because he took my pride, took my joy.
Her mother said that I'm gonna make sure that every time that he has a court date, he will see my face there. He's gonna know that Abby was never alone. And I think that that's pretty cool. Abigail, known as Abby Saldana, was born on February 4th, 1999 in Wichita Falls, Texas, to Jessica Contreras and Mario Saldana. Abby was not only a hard-working young lady, but she was also full of life with a heart of gold. She was a blessing to all who came in contact with her and would light up a room with her presence. She was a wonderful daughter, sister, and mother. She loved music, makeup, fashion, and most of all, family. Abby was never too tired to help family and friends. Her laughter was contagious and uplifting. Her mother said that Abby was a hardworking and courageous mom who loved her son. She was also said to have loved her brothers. She had no fear, her mother said, and she outsmarted him because she took pictures. She knew. most of the time, you know. You may not be able to place it, you may not know every detail, but your gut knows that something is not okay. Your gut tells you somebody is following you, somebody is watching you, somebody is showing up where they shouldn't. Abby, listen to her gut. Until I see you again, stay safe. If you're still with me at this point, then you're one of my actual community members, and I appreciate you so much. I wanted to let you know I got to have the coolest experience this week. I just wanted to share it with you because you guys are awesome and I want you to be a part of it. So this week, I got to go into a high school and listen to a girl do a book report on my book. That was the coolest freaking experience. And it was so important. It was so valuable because she exposed other people, other teenagers, to the fact that there is this safety book that is out there and to some of the content that's in it. And then I got the privilege and the honor of getting to answer questions as an author, including, why did you write this book? Well, I wrote this book because I wanted to say the things that people didn't say to me. And I wanted people to be able to get all this good information in one place that it took me years and years of studying and personal experience to get, so that other people don't have to go through years and years of trauma to get there. It was so cool. Like, I can't even begin to explain it. And I think next month, my daughter is going to do a book report too. Actually, she was going to do one first. She mentioned it in school because they had to make sure that the teacher had to okay the book and make sure that the content was okay. And this girl was in her study hall, saw the book, wanted to check it out. Then my daughter told me that this girl is like super hyper normally and doesn't sit still very well. And she was like, she sat and read your book the entire study hall, the entire hour and a half. She's like, I've never seen her so quiet. And she read the book twice, apparently. And so I gave her a signed copy, which she was excited about. And one of their other friends was like, I want one too. But it was so cool. This girl, in her book report, you know, she's talking about, she's known people that this book affects. I really think it may have affected her also. Like, I think that there may be a little bit of an abuse history there in some form or fashion, but everybody knows somebody that this book is important for. Everybody. Everybody knows somebody who's been a victim, multiple somebodies. In fact, there's no way that you don't. There's no, and I mean, obviously I'm preaching to the choir, because if you're here watching this, then you are aware of it. But some people like to think that they're special. They don't know. Everybody knows somebody. So it'd be really, really cool if we could get some kind of a mission going there, I'm thinking, to be able to get it into high school libraries so that people can actually do that. How cool would that be? I mean, they're already dealing with all kinds of crap like this at that point in their lives anyway, but if we could give them a heads up before they become young adults, man, maybe we could spare some trauma and save some lives. That'd be so cool. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to share it with you. Life is full of ups and downs, and sometimes it's really hard. The last couple weeks with COVID and stuff like that, I'm feeling much better, by the way. Thank you very much. That was something. And it was different. Like, my kids got it too, and their symptoms were not the same as mine. You know, my daughter had breathing problems, and we ended up going to the emergency room for her at one point. I didn't have breathing problems, but I felt like I had a concussion all the time. Like, I don't know if you ever had a concussion, but you can't handle movement and headache, head pressure. I mean, extreme exhaustion too. Like, at one point I took a shower for 15 minutes and then I had to take a 2-hour nap because of the amount of energy it took for me to stand there for 15 minutes. And I stood there and took a shower instead of taking a bath because I wasn't sure I'd be able to get back out of the bath because I just was so weak. No energy for a while, but I'm doing better and I'm so grateful. My kids are doing better. I'm so grateful. Getting to watch this book report was so cool. Probably one of the highlights of my life. Like, I've been working on this for a long time, and when you guys comment and when you like and when you subscribe, any of those things that you do, it's such an encouragement for me. It tells me that people are listening and I'm making a difference. I'm getting somewhere, because sometimes it feels like spinning your wheels. Same thing with getting to watch her book report. I'm like, I am getting somewhere. Somebody heard. Somebody got the information. Even if other people don't, somebody is getting it. Ugh. Thank you for being here. I wanted to share with you. You're my community. Thank you for being here. And I really do hope that you stay safe and come back next week.